You know, I'm a big advocate for first responders. I live in the city of Phoenix. We've talked a lot about cops and understaffing. Well, the fire department's not far behind. They also are understaffed. Joining me is PJ Dean, Communication Director for the United Firefighters Association of Phoenix, correct?
That's correct.
And also a captain and active member of the fire department.
Correct.
I read recently in a story that you're down a bunch of firefighters below what are minimum staffing levels. What kind of a danger is that posing in Phoenix?
It's a big danger because obviously in our business, time is of the essence, and it's literally the difference between life and death sometimes in our ability to respond. Currently, the city is experiencing a return of full funding to its budget, which is a great opportunity to build public safety back up. As everyone knows, in the past decade or so, we've had some financial challenges in Phoenix, and we weren't allowed, because of the financial situation, to grow the way we should have, along with the city that did not stop growing. So we never had that infrastructure built in to keep pace with the population, and now we're starting to see some of the unfortunate benefits to that, or consequences to that.
We talk a lot about Phoenix being a wide city, not a tall city. Mm-hmm. And that poses some significant challenges for the distances you have to travel sometimes between calls and how you have to adjust if one fire station is out on a call and you got to have support from somewhere else, they're driving longer distances. It really is, this isn't a scare tactic. This is really posing a threat to public safety.
No, this is a real situation. This isn't a theory. This is clearly illustrated by some of the recent incidents we've had in our outlying areas, one of which was a house fire at the end of last month. The first arriving engine company had a 9-minute response time. So that means it was 9 minutes for the fire truck to arrive, start putting water on that fire. Obviously, that's completely unacceptable. The national standard is roughly 5 minutes. We're well past that, and that's not because the closest truck was out of service. That's because that was the closest truck. So in our opinion, that's an unacceptable scenario, and we really want to create an awareness so the city will start funding public safety again.
The funny thing about that is I think most citizens, and it's forget politics, it's not about Republican, Democrat, it has nothing to do with that. Most people understand and say public safety first. It seems to be the campaign slogan of everybody that runs for office in both parties. With a budget now, a surplus, they're saying, of over $2 million, there's only a small piece of that going to fire, and none of it is going to hire any firefighters, is it?
That's really our greatest concern, and yes, you're absolutely correct. To us, it just demonstrates the fact that it doesn't appear as though the city is taking the public safety crisis seriously enough. Like you said, there's almost a $3 million surplus there. They're putting more money from the surplus towards planting trees than they actually are the fire department. That doesn't make any sense to us. We have critical needs. We need to serve the public and protect them. We can't do it without the right resources.
What he's talking about is a recent story, the surplus in the Phoenix budget. They are actually allocating around $600,000, I believe, to plant shade trees around the city.
$450,000 for trees and shade, $360,000 to the fire department.
And none of that's going to be used to hire firefighters. That's the other part of it, is that they're not addressing the needs, and there's experts like yourself that I know you're advising them, that we need to put people in these trucks and in the firehouses to keep the public safe.
That's our greatest need. We need trucks to be put in service, and we need more firefighters hired. There was a recent study that identified at least 5 new apparatus and 138 firefighters. That gets us up to the ability to be able to keep pace with our population and protect them.
And that's, to me, it seems almost like a no-brainer that everybody does say, and I believe they believe it at the city, at the government level, that it should be public safety first. Why aren't they listening? Have they told us, or is it that they're not listening? What's the reasoning behind them not giving you what you need?
We're really not sure. It's a little bit of a mystery to us. Maybe it's just a matter of perspective. Obviously, us being on the streets, dealing with this every day, we have a greater appreciation for this probably than anyone. So that's why we're here. That's why we're reaching out on social media. We're fortunate to be on your show today to talk about this and create an awareness from the public so that they can understand why this is so important and the fact that lives are at stake. We can't afford to shortchange public safety in the city of Phoenix.
Every first responder I've met, police or fire, you do the job to truly help the public. It's got to be frustrating when you realize there's going to be an inability. When like you said, 9 minutes to get to a fire, that's an eternity for someone who's called the fire department and trying to get a fire put out. Yes. And it puts you in further danger because it's more involved in that fire by the time you get there instead of catching it early. It's got to be putting you in danger as well.
Yes, it's very frustrating. And there's no worse feeling than showing up to an incident where lives are at stake and people saying, "Where were you? What took so long?" It's a horrible feeling. We want to avoid that at all costs. So that's why we're so passionate about driving this issue and making people aware that we need to take any surplus we have and rebuild public safety, put it back in to invest in the safety of the public because it's our most vital and basic need.
And my eye-opening time was when the budget shortfalls happened about 10 years ago, and and to the fire department's credit, along with Phoenix Police Department, you went to the city and you made serious concessions to make sure that nobody was laid off, but you did it to make sure that the right thing was being done by the city. And I think it's really time that the people of Phoenix get behind you guys and make sure that we do the right thing for you and put the pressure on the city council to get them to get you funded so that you can be safe and you can also protect the public.
100%. We need the resources to be able to protect the public, and that's our biggest contention at this point, is that we need the money to do that. For almost a decade, we've pulled a rabbit out of a hat financially, did more with less, sought creative solutions to problems, but you can only do that so long. Now the signs of wear are starting to show on our ability to respond, and that's a risky game to play. We can't afford to do that.
All right, so whatever you're doing, if you live in the city of Phoenix like I do, we just have the expectation of public safety first. Here's somebody that's a member of public safety risking their lives to do their job and saying they are short so many people, response times are down, it's putting them in danger. PJ, I appreciate you coming down, and let's hope the audience gets on board and starts calling these city council members.
We hope so too. Thanks for your time.
Thanks for coming.
Okay.
We'll be back.